Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today, we read 3 true scary stories from r/paranormal. Let's begin. Our first story is from Anonymous. Has anyone seen this creature too? I've done many Google searches and have found nothing like it. I have only spoken to a few close friends about this experience, and my parents don't quite believe me. When I was about 12 years old, me, my 2 younger brothers, and my 2 younger cousins were playing outside at night. Our cousins came over to see us, and all of the adults were inside the home. We lived in a small trailer park in Texas at the time, and it was built either on top of or near indigenous land. We played outside a lot at the time, and there was a street light that shone over the part of the road we were playing on, so it didn't feel so creepy. I looked down the road, where a white house sat, and next to it was a garage, and next to that was the forest. There was a lot of forest in the area, and I saw something coming out of the forest. I thought it was a wolf for a brief moment. Then I felt my heart sink when I saw its distorted-looking, long, thin limbs, and the uncanny way it moved brought tears to my eyes. It had a long head and a small mouth like a horse, tan in color, and was extremely thin. It had no tail. I grabbed my cousins and told them to look where I was pointing, and asked if they could see it too, or if I was crazy. They had a terrified look on their faces and said, "Yes." And I looked over at where I saw the creature, and it got up and started walking on its 2 hind legs and moved in such a freaky way. It began to climb the garage with ease. This thing had been around 8 to 10 feet tall while standing on its back legs. I then ordered everyone to run inside. I told the adults what we saw, and they didn't believe us for whatever reason. I assume they thought it was our imaginations. Anyways, I haven't seen those cousins since the encounter due to family issues. I've searched the internet many times trying to find a sighting report or image that resembles this creature, to which I have had no luck finding. So now I am turning to Reddit. Let me know, please, if you know anything about what we saw that night, or have seen something like it. Our second story is from Robsonator. Is my house haunted? So, a bit of a long one. This is my first post on Reddit. I'd like to talk about a couple of incidents in my family home, see if anyone has an explanation. My house is made out of 2 old mining cottages in northern England. They were built at some point in the 19th century. I have lived in it for 25 years, and while I'm not exactly a believer in the paranormal, I cannot fully explain some of the things that have gone on inside my house. Some things are the kind of cliché haunted house occurrences that go kind of unnoticed and just become normal. No one has really felt threatened in any way. Household items regularly go missing. Curtains close by themselves, doors slamming or opening by themselves, and the odd bump in the night. Nothing really unexplainable or out of place in the first half of a cheesy haunted house movie. Occasionally, a family friend or my high school girlfriend has felt uncomfortable in the house alone, and couldn't really explain why, but for my family, it was just our home. However, there have been some more unusual incidents that have again kind of just been accepted by my family. One evening, when I was about 23, my father went to pick up my mother from Newcastle just as I was about to have a shower. I heard him leave, but about 5 minutes later, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs that I did not recognize. They had a pace and weight to them that didn't match any of my family members. At first, I wasn't alarmed, as I just assumed my father had forgotten something. I saw the shadow cross the hallway and enter my parents' room, so I called out to my father, but got no answer. At this point, I assume my dad has left the door open, and someone has broken in. I had been training martial arts since the age of 4 and was perhaps overconfident. I also knew my dad kept a bat by his bed, so I ran into my parents' room, completely naked. Towel fell off, ready for a fight. Again, as if it was a cheesy movie, there was no one there. I was certain there was someone there. More recently, my entire family awoke to a massive crash in the middle of the night that shook the whole house awake, dogs barking, and everyone panicked. I thought that there had been a car crash into our house. However, there was no sign of anything that would make a crash that loud. Nothing had fallen over. None of our neighbors had woken up. I even checked to see if there had been an earthquake or some kind of explosion nearby, but there had been nothing. There have been other things, but I just thought I would share these. Please feel free to share any thoughts. Our last story is from Therapy Chick. My dead roommate. We moved into our first home in February of 2016. It was an old home built in the early 1900s in the historic part of town. I loved it. All of the hand-carved woodwork and glass doorknobs with skeleton locks. It was exactly what I wanted and perfect for myself, 22 female at the time, and my husband, 27 male at the time. I was 3 months pregnant with our first, and we were so excited to start our family. As we got settled in, we noticed the house was very noisy. I rarely have my home quiet, due to having tinnitus, and always needing some kind of background noise to drown it out. On the rare occasion the house was quiet, there was always lots of creaking and moving, mostly coming from the loft-style attic we had. We shook it off to the house settling and being old. At least, that's what my dad told us. So we moved on. Spring came and we were scrambling to get ready for the baby. The house needed a lot of work, but we were determined to get it done. The first major encounter was on a beautiful spring day. It was the weekend, and my husband and I were spending our day off working on the house. I was cleaning the kitchen, and he was working on my car in our detached garage. The way this home was built, you could see the detached garage from the window that's above the kitchen sink. I would glance out every now and then to see what he was up to. A little time passed, and I hadn't looked out at him. I started doing the dishes when I heard him walking in the living room towards the kitchen. I could feel his presence, and without turning back, I said, "Hey, babe." No answer. Wondering why he didn't answer, I looked back over my shoulder, only to be met with a dark silhouette of a man standing between the living room and kitchen. In the blink of an eye, the figure was gone. Unsure of what I had just seen, I yelled through the window for my husband, who was still in the garage. He came in, and frantically I told him someone was in the house. Immediately he went and grabbed his weapon and checked all over the house. Nothing was there. In all of the years we lived in that house, not once did my husband see our roommate. I saw him all of the time. out of the corner of my eye, peeking around corners. But more than anything, I saw him looking into the living room from the staircase that led to the attic. In the beginning, he frightened me, but after a while, I got used to him being there. I even spoke to him sometimes, telling him I'm okay if he stays in the attic and asking him to leave my baby alone. He seemed to have agreed, since the 5 years my son lived here. He never saw him. When we went to sell our home, the realtor brought us some historical information she found regarding the house and our neighborhood. We found out that our house and our neighbor's house was built by a brother and sister. Our home was the brothers. Their last name was the same as our current neighbor, so I figured he was most likely a descendant. I asked him one day, and he told me that the sister was his mom, and his uncle owned our home. He said that he was a kind man who lived alone and died in the home many years ago. I asked him about the attic, and he said that was his uncle's favorite place in the home. He kept all of his trinkets and projects up there and would spend hours working on things. I didn't tell him I believed my house was haunted, as he didn't seem the type who would believe me. Our home was listed and sold within the same day. Sometimes, I wonder about the man in the attic. If the new owners are nice to him or have even noticed his presence. I hope they will give him his space, as they are only passerby in his home, like we once were. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The stories in this video were read with the author's permissions. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit posts. Don't let the shadows get too close.